would stop breathing if you told me to. Now you're busy loving someone else.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. We are back with the review for Tyler Perry's Divorced Sistas. This is Season 1, Episode 5, Breath of Fresh Air. So we open up the episode at the jail with Tiffany, Geneva, and Javon waiting on Naomi to be released. Mind you, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Geneva is still giving major attitude like, girl, you've been standing in those heels and that gown all night. Go home. If you that mad, just go home. But anyway, Javon, he goes to see what's taking so long. So now Tiffany is asking Geneva all these questions about him, like, why you never told me about him? And she said it was nothing to tell. He was married. She wants to know about his ex-wife. What was she like? How long has Geneva known him? She tells her a few years, making sure she don't say 5 to 6. She blatantly looks her in the face and lies once again, saying she does not know him outside of the courtroom. Geneva is a stone cold liar and the truth ain't in her, okay? Tiffany is still asking all these questions to the point where now Geneva is like, look, you gotta ask him. I don't know what to tell you. Now Tiffany, she's not slow. She does pick up on Geneva's energy that she's acting weird, she's being strange, and she's not telling her everything. So she says she's gonna ask Rashida. And Geneva looked at her like, child, Rashida don't know him. Tiffany says the way she looked at Javon, she definitely knows him. And Geneva looking like, girl, trust and believe she doesn't know him. She only knows what I've told her, and half of that was a lie up until the last episode. But anyway, so Tiffany was like, whatever, I'll figure it out on my own, but he is so fine and he smells so good. And baby, Geneva gave her this look like, girl, you are talking about my man, little do you know. And she told her, look, Tiffany, I know I wanted you to be outside. I know I've been encouraging you to date, but just be careful. Now, I feel like Geneva needs to pump her brakes and stop having an attitude towards Tiffany because she is completely innocent in the situation. The lady has been minding her business for the last 3 years. She didn't ask to be hooked up with nobody. Your man, William, orchestrated the entire thing. So either pull her aside and have a conversation about it. You don't have to go into full-blown details about the whole Anika thing, this and that and the other, but you can tell her something that will allow her to protect her heart. Because something tells me if Javon gives Tiffany the D, it's gonna be on and popping. She hasn't had any in a long time and she's already smitten by him. So girl, this is not gonna end well. So after all of that, Bridget calls Tiffany's phone because she's on her way to the jail to try to show some support to see what's going on. Tiffany tells her don't bother coming, there's nothing she can do. She mentions not being able to get a hold of Rashida because she's not answering her phone and lets them know that the entire incident was online and it's getting a lot of traction. Javon makes it back and says that Naomi is getting ready to be released, so Bridget says she'll just meet up with them at Naomi's house, so they hang up. We finally see Naomi getting released and she says she is so tired and they finally get her up out of there. So then we get into the foolishness of it all with Vaughn and Bridget. So she starts talking out loud, wondering why she's with this man. Why is she even doing all of this? He makes a comment. She tells him, I thought you were asleep. He says to her, oh, how can I sleep when you in here making all that noise on the phone? Can't you go downstairs with all of that? Excuse me, Vaughn, who are you talking to? So she tells him he needs to get up and go get a job because she's not going to be going to work every day while he's in the bed laying around and then playing video games all day. He tells her she sounds like his mama and forget those lame ass jobs. He then lets her know the reason he doesn't stay on the jobs are because they mess with his mental health the same way she's messing with his mental health right now. But I don't see him getting up leaving her because, of course, that's his bread and butter. He need to be out there getting an SSI check if he can't stay on the job past the day. So in the midst of all of that foolishness, there's a knock on the door. She goes to answer it and opens the door and Calvin brushes all past her talking about I need my key. First of all, homie, pump your brakes. Good morning, how are you? You don't just waltz in here and don't say anything. Mind you, it's 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. How do you even know where I live? Why are you popping up to my house? And again, we still don't know who Calvin is when it comes to Bridget. So he tells her that Vaughn took his key. Now he has to call a locksmith or break into his safe to get into it. First of all, why would Vaughn have access to a key when you know his history? So that's pretty much on you for being foolish in the first place. And you could have simply called Bridget on the phone and had her ask him about the key Because again, you popping up that time in the morning at any point in time during the day, night, or whatever is just not cool. But anyway, she goes to ask him about this key. She gets to the bedroom and he is in there calling the hogs, snoring so loud. She wakes him up. Of course, he's acting a whole donkey and basically tells her he doesn't have that key. She goes back to Calvin and relayed a message that he does not have it. And Calvin flat out says that Vaughn is lying. He asks Bridget, what are you doing? He's a child and you deserve a man, as he leans in towards her and she's looking like, excuse me? Now in this moment, it feels like Calvin is trying to shoot his shot and he seems so angry with Vaughn as if he's jealous of him because Bridget is wrapped up into this bum and not giving him a second look. And he's over there being a hard-working man. But the problem I have with Calvin, you have on a wedding ring, sir. What's up with that? So she tells him, look, I don't need you telling me what I do and don't deserve. He agreed. And now he wants to go and talk to Vaughn. And she lets him. And I'm like, Bridget, why would you let this man go into your bedroom? First of all, if you haven't already hunched Calvin, that is your own personal and private space. So the answer should have automatically been no just on that alone. Number two, you could have easily tried to diffuse the situation by letting him know if you should come across the key, you'll let him know. But Vaughn said he doesn't have it. That's it and that's all. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. But that was just too much like right. She lets him go back there. They wake him up yet again asking him about this key. He's upset about it. He's going on and on. I don't know nothing about no key. I don't know what part y'all don't understand. Get him out of my house. Everybody's like, your house? Now the two of them are in each other's face like, yeah, that's what I said type thing. And they go at it. Bridget, she tries to jump in to try to break them up. They done pushed her down to the ground. And baby, when I tell you, Vaughn started wailing on Calvin's behind to the point where he done picked something up about to go in and let have on his head with it. But Bridget, she stops him and he starts cursing the both of them out and tells Bridget, since you want to protect him, F you too. You let this ninja come in here and disrespect me in my house. Calvin halfway off the bed, out of breath, bleeding and all that, talking about this ain't your house. Like, Calvin, please. Bridget tried to nurse his wounds. Now he called himself mad at her, talking about don't touch me. I could have unalived that boy. Well, Calvin, you didn't. You've been ranting and raving for 2 days that you don't like the boy, acting like you gonna do something on grown man status, and you got your butt whooped, okay? Just take your little L. The fight was hilarious. So we go over there to Rashida's house and Last goes into the bedroom telling his dad he needs some money. He doesn't speak. He doesn't say good morning, hey cat, dog, none of that. Nobody's speaking this particular morning. So Jeff does check him on that disrespect, but he wants money for a new computer and he flat out tells him no and go ask your mama. They realize that Rashida is not even in the bed. How Jeff didn't know that is beyond me. But the point of that was he didn't give a damn. So he brushed him off talking about have a good day, and I felt like that would have been a great time for him to sit Last down and talk to him about his grades and him hanging with the wrong crowd and being disrespectful. But all he cared about was his phone. It was ringing off the hook, so when he answered it, it was Myron asking how his hand was doing. They talk briefly. Myron says something about Naomi being sued, and Jeff says that Franklin is probably going to sue her for everything that she has. He lets him know he's going to the gym before he heads to church, and he'll call him when he gets in the car. So they finally make it to Naomi's, and she stumbles in the house while Geneva stands on the doorstep listening to everything that Javon and Tiffany are talking about. He says that he's going to call a rideshare, and Tiffany is thanking him for all of his help. Now, mind you, they know Geneva is standing behind them watching. So he tells Tiffany he would like to see her again, and she says she would like that as well. So he says, take my number, and gives her his phone. So when he does that, he looks at Geneva, and she gives him that look like, you know you trying me right. And he's smirking at her like, whatever. It's just real messy, y'all. It's so messy. So jealous behind salty Gigi tells Tiffany she needs some help inside of Naomi's house. How would you know? You haven't even been in there to know what kind of help you need. But anyway, Tiffany looks at her like, girl, please, hold on. I'll be in there one moment. So Javon takes this time to ask Tiffany out to dinner if she's free later. And of course she is, so she tells him to call her. So Tiffany, she's so wrapped up in Javon's gorgeous smile, she wants him to come inside and wait for his ride to get there. And Gigi basically was like, oh no, ma'am, that is not going to be a good idea. Now, Javon already knows why she doesn't want him in that house. He just plays it off. He's like, look, my car's 5 minutes away. I'm good. As much as I would hate that for them, I have a feeling these two women will have a physical fight about this same Peter. So when we go inside, Naomi, she's in there drinking liquor. So Bridget, she shows up and they all sit down trying to make sure Naomi's okay. And of course she's not. She starts venting about all the different things that have been taken away from her and wondering why Rashida hasn't called her already, not knowing that Rashida is going through her own issues. So Naomi basically says she has a problem with Jeff and Franklin, and what Jeff allowed at the banquet last night was the last straw, and it really hurt her. Now she says she's going to sue the both of them. So Bridget tries to get her to see the positive side of the situation, and Naomi goes slap off on her, telling her, you ain't never been married, you ain't never even had a man check on you, you round there taking care of a man and can't even take care of yourself. I'm like, ooh, child. Now, Naomi, you really didn't have to go off on that lady like that. That was really uncalled for, and she did apologize. But one thing about it, people will truly tell you how they feel about you when they are drunk or mad, and Naomi is clearly both. Now, when it comes to Bridget and Von's whole situationship, I don't see it for her. I think it's pure foolishness, and I think she needs to let that go. But to tell her that she's never had anybody ever check on her, I feel like that was very hurtful, and she didn't deserve that. Now, at this point, they're all getting ready to leave when Naomi says she's going to file a lawsuit. So they have to break things down for Naomi because she's clearly delusional. So Geneva tells her she's facing jail time and needs to find her a really good defense attorney, and that she really doesn't have a leg to stand on because there's video evidence all over the internet of what she did to Lindsay. So they tell Naomi that they love her and they bounce. So when they get outside, Javon sends Tiffany a text and she reads off what it says. So now Geneva is in her feelings like, oh, so you're going to go out with him? And she's like, yeah, it'll be our first official date. So Geneva asks Bridget, can she take Tiffany to her car? So Tiffany wants to know what's up with that because it's not like she's going out of her way. And Geneva comes up with this lie talking about she has to make some private phone calls on Naomi's behalf. And in my mind, I'm like, girl, you just want to call Javon. So in the next scene, we see William texting Geneva. She's letting him know she's on her way home. William goes in to wake Anika up so she can get ready for school, and they have the most adorable moment. He really, really loves this little girl, and it's going to be so heartbreaking if it's not his child because they have a great bond. So when he's talking to her, she's asking about her mom, noticing that she didn't come home last night because she normally hears her, and he's, teasing her about her sleeping real hard or whatever, but she wants to give her mommy a hug. So I had to think about it. When was the last time Geneva saw Anika? But I have to remember the first 4 episodes was just one day. So it was just yesterday. So we see Javon out on a run. So he calls William and they get to chopping it up. So William asks him about Tiffany. What did he think? So he says that he really likes her and that she's something special. Now, I don't know if he's playing in William's face or he's really willing to go there with Tiffany. For real, for real. So he tells William that they're going on a date later that night and he invites him and Geneva to come along. And I was so glad that William told him no. You gotta tell him no. Now, I thought it was funny because he tells William, I'm a little rusty at this dating thing. And William said, well, you were smooth last night. And he gave this little chuckle like, ha ha. I feel like William knows something. I really do. So in the next scene, Tiffany and Bridget are in the car and Tiffany is fantasizing about Javon, saying how he is a breath of fresh air, hence the name of the episode. The way Tiffany is already mesmerized by Javon and he hasn't even touched her yet, I'm going to feel sorry for her when she finds out the truth of what's really going on between him and Gigi. So Bridget, she wants to know what that feels like, and she goes into that whole Vaughn thing not working out for her. And Tiffany is looking like, here we go with this again. And she tells her about the fight that Calvin and Vaughn had. So saying that Calvin got beat up without actually saying it, Bridget says she knows that Calvin is going to be sore. So this is where we learn that Calvin is actually a professional boxer, and Tiffany is telling Bridget this, and she let Bridget know if Calvin didn't hurt Vaughn, it's because he chose not to. So I'm trying to figure out, how does Tiffany know more about Calvin than Bridget does, and he acts like they are old best buddies? Why she don't know that already? So Tiffany tells Bridget to check on Calvin, and she claims that she would and says that she sent Vaughn back home to his mama. But Vaughn has a birthday coming up. He's getting ready to turn 30 in 3 days. So guess what? He'll be back to collect. So we go back over there to Naomi's house, and she's cleaned herself up a little bit, and she makes a phone call to Hakeem, and he's answering the phone in the bed with some chick is really giving all the queen's men. He tells her, I knew you'd be calling. Her main motivation was to get her little rocks off because she was ready to hunch, but she wanted to know, did his offer still stand that he can provide all different kind of services? So they go back and forth about that a little bit, and he was like, if this is as dark as I think it is, we don't need to be on the phone talking about it. So she gave him 20 minutes to get to her house, and he told her an hour and a half. So when he finally gets over there in the time that he said he'd be there, he notices her place is in shambles and wanted to know what happened. So she tells him that she got robbed and her ex is responsible. And she wanted to know how connected he was and was he into removing people from the planet. He tells her that's light work, but it's not cheap. She says money ain't nothing but a thing. He's like, well, I'm with it. Make it happen. So now she's ready to get pleased in the bedroom, and I sure hope she's using protection because he just rolled out of somebody else's coochie. So we see that Geneva finally makes it home, and William has breakfast all laid out for her, and she says she's not hungry, and he's trying to cater to her needs and tell her, you've been out all night, make sure you try to get you some rest. And he says he's going to go and take Anika to school, and she was like, okay, perfect. So he leaves, but I found it odd that he didn't even try to hug her, give her a kiss or anything. Like, you haven't seen her all night long, and your last conversation, you was talking about how good she looked and talking about the prom. But now you're in a rush to get to this school. So back over there at Rashida's house, Kelly confronts Jeff about where Rashida is. Of course, he doesn't know, and he still doesn't care. He hasn't picked up the phone to try to call his wife or nothing. She says her mom's side of the bed hasn't been slept in, and she didn't sleep in the guest room. He's playing in her face like, I don't know what you're talking about. She calls him out for telling half truths so he don't have to answer any questions. So she wants to know, are y'all getting a divorce? Of course, he's lying like, no, we're fine, we're good. She says, well, if you are, I want to stay with you, which I found quite interesting. He's still saying, oh, we're happy, we're good. And she says, well, maybe you should. Like, what child says that to their parents? That's when you know the marriage is over. So we get over there to Anika's school, and Geneva is sitting back in the cut in that same green dress, peeping the scene. We see William skinning and grinning all up in some lady's face in yoga pants, giving her a flower. Are we to assume that this is the pretty lady? So while she's trying to pay attention to what William is doing, Javon calls her phone. Now, I would have hit ignore because I need to see what's going on in front of me. But she answers the phone, and he's saying, oh, I just wanted to see how your girl was doing. She gets smart with him like, well, Tiffany has all the information. I'm sure she'll tell you. He says, well, I wanted to hear from you. So they're doing all that back and forth or whatever. So he tells her, if you don't want me to go out with Tiffany, just say that and I won't go. She's like, I'm not going to tell you that. And he catches a little attitude and says, well, am I supposed to be sitting around waiting on you? She says, I don't want you to do that either. He continues on with the back and forth about what they used to talk about and things she shared with him, and she basically says, look, I gotta go, and she hangs up the phone. As she catches William embracing the yoga lady, and she's like, wow. Now she just hung up on her side piece, but mad at William. Okay, girl. So Kelly and Laz, they come out the house getting ready to go to school, and they see that their mom is in the car. So Rashida slept in the car overnight. She never got out of the car because Jeff didn't open her car door. So they go up to the window and they're like, Mom, why are you sitting in there? And she said she just needed a second to herself. So Kelly asks her, isn't that the same dress you had on last night? And she tells them, shouldn't y'all be off to school? Like, go catch your bus. You don't want to miss it. Kelly is not letting up. She's worried about her mom. She asks her, what is wrong? Once again, Rashida says nothing. Laz was over there acting like his daddy. Mom, I need some money. She's like, Laz, please. So Kelly wouldn't let up, asking her what is wrong. So she got fed up and she screamed at them to go and catch that bus. And they jumped and ran off, and you could tell she felt bad that she had to yell at them like that. So after they leave, Jeff, he finally brings his raggedy behind outside, and he realizes that his wife has been in the car all night. He gets in the car like, babe, what are you doing? Like, I thought you were in the guest room. No, you didn't. You didn't care where she was at. Baby, when I tell you I cannot stand Jeff. So she told him that he did not open the door for her last night, and he told her she was being childish and to sit in the car all night long because he didn't open the door is crazy. So Rashida is clearly hurt. She's crying. He continues to be very dismissive and tells her it's an electric car. All she has to do is push the button and get out the car herself. He starts telling her it's just a door. Like, fine, I'll come open the door. It's just the door. He opens it up like, what is wrong with you? She screams at him like, it's not just the door. It's everything that's wrong in our marriage. And she's telling him like, you don't open up for me. You don't care about me. You don't love me. He's standing there lying just like he did to his daughter. He tells her it's not true. Now, she's very emotional, so her voice is elevated, but he's looking around making sure that the neighbors aren't looking. Rashida don't give a damn, and like she tells him, you're worried about what everybody else is thinking and saying instead of worrying about what I'm trying to convey to you about us. And she tells him, you don't see me. She feels unseen. He's like, I love you. His phone is just buzzing, buzzing, buzzing. He keeps hitting the little side button, and I guess it keeps going off while she's trying to talk, and she gets fed up. So she snatches the phone away from him and she hits the talk button, and you hear Myron saying, are you in the car, babe? Can you talk? Rashida looked up at him as he's shaking in his boots like, oh my God, I know you effing lying. And that's where the episode ends. Woo, child. A woman's intuition will never steer her wrong. You hear me? Now, what do you guys think Rashida is going to do with this information? Will she leave Jeff or will she stay for the sake of appearances? Will Geneva finally confront William about being hugged all up on Miss Yoga Pants, or is she going to use this as an excuse to go over there and lay up with Javon? So what did you guys think about the episode as a whole? Because it definitely was a lot going on. Drop down in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are. And as always, you guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.